the election has come to an end, and the determination of our party delegates is that His Excellency Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia is the best man among many to lead our party to victory in 2024. That is the sum total of the election, and the evidence on the stage, which I'm sure you may have followed on Saturday, is that the party is united, demonstrated by the candidates, aspirants on the stage, united to prosecute the 2024 campaign. So that's the state of our party. We are united behind our new candidate in the person of Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia to engage the NDC in a victorious campaign in 2024.
Did your MOU work?
The MOU and many other rules and regulations that govern the election worked. Our party constitution worked, and our common sense and purpose to drive as a group and as a party to ensure that we are in position to deliver our vision for Ghana worked. And that's why today we are as united as ever, focused on our common enemy, the NDC, and I use enemy advisedly, to win and continue to serve the good people of Ghana.
So you do have everybody in the party. You say everybody within the party. And I'm guessing you're thinking the membership too are going to unite behind you. Is that what you expect?
Certainly. And you know, this is not our first rodeo. We've been through these waters many times. And we have come to a place in the previous incidents where the party always comes back united and moves forward as a unit. This will be no different. If anything at all, this will be more resolute and determined than ever, because the party we have come to understand, unlike in 2008, our lessons from there is showing us that our government makes the necessary long-term investments. And if we are not in power to nurture and see to fruition these long-term policies we put in place, the NDC, who may come after us, always vanquishes the gains we have made. And so now, as a party, we have a clear understanding, and we are determined to stay in power to see to fruition all the long-term policies that we put in place so that Ghanaians can reap the fruits of those labors that we collectively have put to the building of our country. So that's the resolve now. And I think every single member of our party understands that, and we are focused to deliver a victory, and so therefore continue to serve Ghanaians. The demonstration of the four aspirants on the stage is evidence of the coming together of the party. What you know is that the party was split in many different ways. It was initially in 10 amongst the 10 aspirants, and now among the four aspirants, with people supporting each individual. But now with their coming together, it means that all their supporters have also come together to support the winner, who is His Excellency Dr. Bawumia, to lead us to that election in 2024. So the party is united, as you should expect.
Now, Dr. Bawumia, based on even what happened ahead of 2016, seemed to be recognized as a key member of this government. In fact, there are people who even blame him for everything that has happened within the government. He has been called the establishment candidate. So even for Npp delegates, he's seen as the face of the government they have selected and put up there. So the suggestion is that Dr. Bawumia, the votes Dr. Bawumia got was a reflection of how the party felt about the performance of the government. And clearly, if you are seeing over 39%, close to 40% of your party voting against the people who essentially is seen as the face of the government, it means within your party, the government is not popular. What do you say to that?
Sir, there's no such thing. the government is not popular. There's no such thing as 39% being more than 61.4%. Mathematically, that does not line up. You know that. All right. 61.4% or 0.5% compared to 40%, even to 50% is not the same. So he has won the election resoundingly. And you know that like the presidential elections, one needs only 50 plus 1 to win. Does that make the president not popular? Does that make the president any less elected? No. So clearly where we are, His Excellency Alhaji Bawumia has been elected by the party, and he is our candidate. He is our best choice. He is our best hope to win the election in 2024. Those who are making those suggestions are NDC, and as usual, they don't have any substance to talk about, so they'll double in these peripheral matters to make that peripheral rather the subject for discussion, and we'll resist that any day. Our focus is the 2024 election, and we want the NDC to come to the table with substance, not these peripheral conversations.
Those who are making that suggestion are NDC.
Yes, of course.
Including lecturers who hold the same opinion, posters who hold the same opinion. They are all NDC.
Well, I'm focused on the NDC. If other people that you're referring to as lecturers, posters, and all, they should simply tell us in what world is 39% or 40% more than 61.5%. If we can prove that to me, that we'll listen to.
So you are focused on the numbers and don't think the numbers are communicating anything?
But I just told you, if you want to elect a president in this country, what percentage do you need? You need only 50 plus 1%. Does that make the president any less legitimate? Does it make him less elected? Does it make him unpopular? No. All right. What our flag bearer has got 61.5% to become our flag bearer. When he goes to the election in 2024, he's only going to need 50 plus 1. So which is more? He is validly elected, widely supported, and he won in 15 out of the 17 polling stations that voted. Now you tell me what that means. He's been elected resoundingly and is the highest of any first-term flag bearer aspirants. And that is the record, and that is the substance of the matter. People can discuss any other thing they want to discuss. If they want to doubt that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, they can doubt it. But in the end, the fact remains what it is. That he's won resoundingly, and the party is united behind it.
So for the NPP, you're happy with who you've gotten? Absolutely.
And we're Democrats, and we believe that the collective conscience of our party has brought up an individual who has distinguished himself, who is experienced, who is ready to lead now, one who reflects the attributes and the cravings of our country. He is an individual who has come up from a very humble beginning and has worked hard to attain the height that he is today and will continue to work hard. He is a true reflection of the everyday Ghanaian who aspire to do better for themselves. And so it tells me that where he is, he will reflect our values. He will be an inspiration for the sons and daughters of this land everywhere across this country to believe that they too, if they work hard, they can attain the height that he attained. And that for me is the significance and essence of his candidacy. And we're going to work very hard so that he embodies that for us by becoming our president to bring the hopes of everyone in this country up. And that makes him the best candidate that the NPP could possibly have asked for.
I'm sure you've spoken to a lot of your party members. Are they all happy with the performance of the government?
Well, today we are in a difficult place. Unlike in 2017, 2018, 19, when this government came into power, in 2020, we saw the disruption caused by COVID-19 that vanquished our economy and that of many other countries. Now, we have built tremendously out of that. In fact, immediately in 2021, you are you bear testament to the fact that our economy from 0.4% in 2020 grew sharply to about 5.36% in 2021. That was us getting back on the path of growth until the Russia-Ukraine war happened in February 2022, which then further vanquished the gains we made in 2021 coming out of COVID. And we have been reeling under the impact of that war, which had direct economic consequence for the global economy in a sense of spiraling cost of living across the world, which and energy costs are going up, which impacted all the countries across the world, particularly the United States, where inflation started skyrocketing. And in their attempt to control their domestic inflation led to the dollar becoming more expensive, which means the depreciation of our currency. So that is an external policy that has a direct impact on our domestic currency management. And that has affected many countries, and we're working hard to come out of that. Eventually, the president had to make the difficult but inevitable decision to go to the IMF to get the balance of payment support, which is a direct consequence of the U.S. policy to strengthen and deal with inflation in their own economy. We are building back strongly this year. You see that the economy is performing better, productivity is coming back. We're growing now at 3.2%. Yes, of course. If you compare the numbers, we're growing the second quarter figures that came, we're growing at 3.2%. You see inflation going downward from a high 54.1% in December 2022. Now we're sitting here about 38.1%. The currency is gaining its footing, and our productivity is going up. So we are looking very positive, and going forward, we expect that the economy will continue to produce better results. So in terms of satisfaction or the lack of satisfaction, I think that people understand the difficulty that disrupted our economy. Otherwise, this government took over in 2017 and grew this economy 3 consecutive years, an average of 7% GDP. And so people understand the capacity of this government to develop this country, to grow our economy, and they know that but for COVID and further disruption by the Russia-Ukraine war, this economy will be in a much better place. But we are committed to the hard work necessary to bring it back to those pre-COVID and pre-war growth paths.
I ask you, and because I didn't ask you about what had accounted for in fact, we've had this discussion several times on what accounted for it. The question I ask you is that when you speak to people within your party, are they generally satisfied and happy with where the government has brought us? That's the question I ask you.
Yeah, but you cannot answer that question without indicating what we are going through. So the truth is that, but for those disruptions that I spoke to you about, you won't be asking that question today.
No, any which way, anybody in a difficulty will give an explanation as to why they are in that difficulty. Right. But my question is about the way the members of your party feel about where we are. That is a different matter from whether or not you contributed or did not contribute to the difficulty. Are the people within your party, generally, every one of them, happy with where we are?
Sena, context is everything. Okay, and you know that. Context is everything, and you cannot ask a question in a vacuum. So when you ask a question, there's a basis why somebody would have to be happy or unhappy, which is a function of the delivery of the government. And so the delivery of the government that is likely to make the person happy or unhappy is extracted from the productivity of the government. And so I gave you an instance of 2017, 18, 19, where you will not ask me this question about whether people are happy with the government or not, because people are happy, the economy is working. Today, that question arises because people, the economy is not doing well, so you want to gauge if people are happy or not happy. And I'm telling you what.
No, Mr. Ahiagba, 2009, 2010, 2011, when you were talking about 2016, you were not talking about 2009, 2010, 2011. Your focus were on the difficult periods. So that's why I'm saying within your own, what you canvass in 2016, when we're talking about it, you do not talk about the years that were better. You were talking about the years that were difficult. The question I'm simply asking is, are people happy within your party with what you have currently?
So let me answer your question differently. I think you're just misunderstanding. You want a certain answer without context. Look, people are happy because of where we are, because we could have been in a much difficult or worse situation, but for the handling of this government, of the twin challenges we face, which is COVID and Russia-Ukraine war. So people, while they know we are in difficulty, appreciate why we are in this difficulty, because they know COVID happened and it impacted our economy. They know Russia-Ukraine happened and it impacted our economy and the global economy. So that's the answer I'm trying to give you in a different way. Yes, people appreciate the context of the difficulty we are in. And I expect that, Sena, you will lead your questions with the context in which we are and what brought us.
Clearly, I've told you on several occasions I disagree with your context.
You have to, because, so that's the problem. And that's the problem, because you cannot tell me that an economy that was growing 7% for 3 years up to 2019 certainly caved in 2020 to 0.4%. Has not experienced any major shock. And so if you are denying that, it just makes it difficult to engage you, because you're not being objective in stating that you don't agree.
Well, your objectivity is determined. My objectivity is determined by Richard.
No, the objectivity should be determined by the facts. And the facts are that COVID happened and you know about it.
And you're not presenting all the facts. You're presenting the facts that respond to the issues you want to present. But my question is simple. So you are saying that people are not satisfied. No, let me see if I understand you. You are saying that people are not satisfied, but they are satisfied. They are not happy with where we are, but they are happy with the work you are putting in.
The people of this country, which constitute people in our own party, understand the difficulty the world is in today. There is no satisfaction in any part of the world relating to the performance of any government. But people understood.
The things that are happening in Nigeria are for Nigerians to determine the effort being put in by their government. The things that are happening in the US. No, Mr. Ahiagba, please.
Yes.
In the UK, for example, you yourself has watched whilst prime ministers were changed, about 3 different prime ministers within months.
Right.
Yes. So they are responding to their difficulties in a particular way.
Yeah.
We have ours, and we have to face up to ours.
Right.
That's a different context of discussion altogether.
I'm not denying that, Sena, but you have failed to have an objective conversation. The point I am making is exactly what you have made. I'm saying that citizens across the world are not happy with the state of the global economy. So people in Britain are not happy. And so their response is to change prime ministers. Fine.
Not the state of the global economy. They are not happy with the state of their specific economy. They feel that their leaders can do better.
Okay, so listen, Sena. What happened with COVID is not local. It's international. It's global. Okay? Russia-Ukraine war, the impact is global. So all governments are dealing with how to build back. And so citizens are responding to the measures that the governments are putting in place to build back. So their response, since you want us to disaggregate it, their response in Britain is out of their frustration with the economy. In our own situation, our people understand the context is that we had this shocks. You see, and the difficulties, and I will implore you to listen to me a bit carefully here. Okay. The difficulty with the media framing of the question is the problem. And unfortunately, in your own case, you have stated a position that you don't accept that COVID has had an impact. If the media frames the question properly, we'll be having a conversation now about what is this government doing to dig Ghana out of the impact of this COVID. And I'll tell you what it is that government is doing. And then also, when I leave this line and you invite my colleagues and my friends from the NDC to come and speak to you, they will also tell you, or you require them to tell you, what is it they are doing or they will do to dig Ghana out of that situation. But if you don't do that, and you are ignoring and saying you don't accept, then you create a problem, and it's not going to be an accusation rather than the conversation of ideas and policy. That's the difficulty I have with this conversation. So please, let's move to the proper framing of the question, and that will help the conversation and help what ideas we bring to the table, and ultimately help Ghana. That is where I think we should be. Nobody gains anything by denying the impact of a real problem that has affected our economy. It is true that you just look unrealistic. When you do that, you look unobjective, because everybody in the world knows that COVID impacted and Russia-Ukraine war has impacted. It's just a fact. You can't deny that. It's like denying that God exists. The fact that you don't believe in it doesn't make it factual that God doesn't exist. You may not believe in God, but we know God exists. We know God exists, and we know COVID happened, and we know Russia-Ukraine has happened, and it has impacted all economies, including Ghana.
So the proper framing of the question is to ask you what you're doing, and then I'll call an NDC member to also tell me about what they are doing. That's the best way to do it.
Because then that way you are moving this conversation forward. You are trying to help your listeners appreciate where solution is coming from, who can offer a solution. Because if you don't do that, we are going into an election to elect a leader. Okay, what is that leader going to do? What is his vision? If you don't frame the question like that, how would you know what NDC is likely to do if they win? How would you be able to tell what Dr. Bawumia and the NPP will do if we continue to stay in power, what we are doing now and what we're going to do in the future? So if you don't do that, we will only be talking and arguing. We will not be serving ourselves in any way as a country to evolve or to advance democracy and the policy outcomes that those governments implement. So it is an important conversation, Sena, that we come to these platforms not to just argue vainly to defend our parties, but to speak to certain policies that are being implemented, certain things that can be done to improve the economy. So our listeners will be informed on the basis, okay, I know what Akufo-Addo is doing, I know what Bawumia is going to do, and I'm hearing what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama said he will do when it comes. So we can weigh them on the basis of that, vote on issues. People say Ghana people don't vote on issues. It's true largely because we don't offer the discussion on a platter where the NDC solution is evident and the NPP solution is evident, so people can choose between them. And my invitation is that let's do that. Let's focus our conversation on facts. If there are things that you see in COVID, the handling of COVID and Russia-Ukraine war that are problematic, and you think that government should have done A, B, C, D to deal with it, and it hasn't done it, then you raise that matter. But to say that it didn't happen and certain other things being said, for me, it is to invite us to argue. I say it happened, you say it didn't happen, I say it happened. It's a needless, wasteful conversation to waste to put our time to use for. We need to focus on solutions and how we address the challenges that confront us is significant. That's what voters want to hear. That's what we must serve them and nothing else.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us. I do disagree with your framing as always, but thank you. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you, my brother, as always.
Mr. Ahiagba is Director of Communications of the New Patriotic Party, Richard Ahiagba. We always disagree on, because I essentially always feel that this is not about NDC and NPP. This is about how people feel about where we are currently. But he insists that the views that matter